Thank you, Richard, for inviting me. This has been on my calendar for a long time, and I've been looking forward to it. I want to say thank you to all of you who have zoomed on in here to spend this time with me and with my work. And a special shout out to my daughter who's out there amongst you, and my friend Georgia, who sent me a wonderful picture of her and her homemade guacamole and her margarita that she made just for the evening. I wish that I could, dive in with her, but she's all the way in Syracuse. I saw one of my colleagues from work, Susan, so I want to say thank you for her to pop in. It's wonderful to see new faces and familiar faces, especially since we've been sheltering in place and have been away from each other for so long. So I thought tonight, that I would just read, as I said earlier, all over the place. Just some new stuff that I've been working on, some stuff that hasn't been published, and then something from all three of my books. So yeah, I think it should be a fun evening. So the first three pieces I'm going to read for you are pieces that I wrote kind of in response or riffing off of Wallace Stevens' 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. Just kind of playing around with the form. And after having read his uh, critical essays gathered together in Necessary Angel about really looking at things, not just writing about something, but trying to get into the skin of something and maybe even look out of its eyes and then look at it in relationship to how it is placed in nature and in the world around us. So I thought I would read about I've written about three of those that I'm going to share with you, and then we'll just kind of segue on through. So this one is called 13 Ways of Looking, just looking. And it begins with an epigraph from the novel Blindness by Jose Saramago. And that epigraph is, if you can see, look. One, because I want to know. My eyes break common prisms into scattered light. Gather up the rods into bucket of blues. Gotta see to know, gotta see to know, gotta know to see. Two, scaffolds of blues, gallows of light, built on 3 layers of tissue paper night, fill the cone with spotless second sight. Understand? Monochrome blind, one color allowed. Snow blind, white light to excess. Moon blind, nowhere, nowhere to go, no path to follow. Four, a man and his vision are one. Just telling you what I know. Five, through a glass darkly. Hooke's microscope, Galileo's telescope, Benjamin's spectacles, a keyhole, an emerald, a glass of water. Six, nose smudges on the window, an anxious, steamy breath on glass, magnify the scope of hopeful, watchful eyes watching earnestly at the window. Left to right, right to left, the truth is written in dotted permutations, calligraphed characters, code, alpha to omega, on papyrus, rice, wood, stone. Trace the shadows with your fingertips, your eyes, your lips. Seven. Big Mama was a seer, born that way, always knowing, could see the bitter winter coming in the glow of the firefly. Fish in her dreams could see sons and daughters in their mother's eyes. She saw sickness before it come, in the color of skin and nails. Big Mama was a seer, saw death walking up the path, went right on out to meet it. Eight, seeing has a lucid, inescapable rhythm. The drum of fingernails on a wooden table, a syncopated alternating heel and palm pound, a deeply held stare that bores deeper down with each heartbeat, with each swell of breath. The rhythm births a dance, the sway of inspection, introspection, a slow chin tilt, an eyebrow pinch, lifted gaze, lowered gaze, the understanding nod. 9. There is no such thing as out of sight. What has been seen cannot be unseen. 10. Epiphany ensues, peekaboo. When vision is clear, hide and seek. The bards of old understood, I spy and philosophized with mine own eye. 11. Even the blind see. In taps and touch, they do not fear the shadow's assault. Their eyes grow wise, noses discern, tongues taste, tears on the air take care they can't be fooled. 12. Light floods in a constant stream. Even in darkness, light finds its way. 13. Old folks call kids nosy, but they smile inside when they say it. 'Cause nosy kids grow, see, look, know. So this second poem was kind of inspired. You know how you haven't seen someone in a really, really long time, and then they show up on your Facebook feed, right? And sometimes you recognize them right away, and sometimes you're like, I'm not really sure, but I think that's so and so. And so I saw a picture of an old boyfriend, and I knew it was him only because I could recognize the tattoo on his arm. The title of this poem is Jimmy's Tattoo, 25 Years Later. Freckles tan to leathered distress, time-thin concert tee, basic blue jeans. Only the unicorn tattoo tells me it's you. My finger once traced its outline of eruption in ink on your forearm, a fantastical reality. First loves and innocence have gone the way of the unicorn. Now we look through time's barbaric glass and dream of parallel universes where we live and know what we didn't know then, no matter what. Our simple promise to hold the dying one without fear. Of all the promises I've made and will break, this one I will grieve most. This thing called love. We just couldn't handle it. It was the toss of a flame, your red hair glinting in the sun, the grumble of your '68 white Buick LeSabre, and your hand, such a sweet undoing. We walked down General Samuel's Road, stroking the back of a unicorn, too delicate to carry us to forever. So what could it mean that all of it is gone, but the unicorn on your forearm? I have always been 17, giddy. I believe in love. I write poetry, still. Yeah, that's the first time I've read that one out loud. I appreciate the chat, because otherwise it feels like I'm just reading to myself. So this poem is dedicated to all of the women poets out there. It begins with an epigraph. You guys will recognize this from Virginia Woolf. 500 a year means the power to contemplate. A lock on the door means the power to think for oneself, right? So basically, she wrote that fabulous, essay, A Room of Her Own, saying that, a woman needs her own money and needs her own room so she can write. So this is called Lock the Door. Oh, and it refers to Nikizi, which is a bird that they actually believe did not just parrot back language, but could actually understand it. So, lock the door. When her words were scattered into the autumn wind, Nikizi gathered them up and spoke them back to her. Nikizi understood. A woman and her words are one. A woman and her words behind locked doors subjugate the literary law of the minimum. It matters not which door is locked, the splintered pantry door, the mildewed door to the washroom, the door that rings hollow when small palms are slapped hard against it. It only matters that it is a room and the door is locked. And a star studded darkness fills the long window with eager expectancy as the steady scrawl then sweep across the page to and fro resonates. And then silhouette of a writer's shadow becomes a moon that pulls at the tide. O keepers of the canon, why only esteem the prowess of people kings and spear-armed dames? Why only exalt those drunk on wine, poetry, and virtue? But also imagine the sober meter of the truth told slant, and watch how the kitchen twists back on its dark spine. Dispense with noble accents and their lucid, inescapable rhythms. There is melody to mewing babies, and a drumming when knuckles scrape a washboard. There is a cadence to shuffled steps abbreviated by tangled skirts, duty and calling. Every morning the page is without form or void. Every evening the woman will hover above it, create and recreate if the door is locked and her apron pockets are full. Wait quietly for the click of the lock falling open. Um, so I'm going to read a thank you note to Picasso, and it's very interesting. So many people have been saying on social media how difficult it is to, educate their children and still cook dinner and still work, their regular job, all in the space, of an 8-hour day, all at the same time. So I had come across a painting by Pablo Picasso, and wrote a poem in response to it. And it's called Woman Ironing. It was painted in 1904, and it was a part of his blue movement where he was painting everything in shades of blue. And so this entire painting is a woman and she's ironing, and it's all in shades of blue, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I wrote him a thank you note. Thank you note to Picasso. I too have been the woman ironing, with only one dagger of a shoulder pointing heavenward, all else homebound, a tethered resolve to smooth and straighten. When a woman works, scarcely few notice the palette of blues she becomes, parched lips in snowflake, or the bruised crescents under her eyes, least of all, her hair fading to powder. Not in fields of heather nor tomes of poetry. Instead, she labors in the bluing agent of laundry, never ends. It circles from bureau to body to basket, into scrub board, blue veined hinge, and then it hangs under threatening skies to dry until a woman irons with only one dagger of a shoulder pointing heavenward, all else homebound, tethered. So it's like oftentimes we don't realize how grateful, right, we should be until we have it really, really pointed out to us as these times really have done. So let's move on. I think I'm going to read one. I'm going to read one poem from my first book, Psalm of the Sunflower, and then I'm going to circle back and finish up with one poem from this book. This poem that I'm reading came from a poetry exercise. It was done by or led by Krista Franklin, and she must have had a lot of patience because she sat down and cut tiny slips of paper, and there were just words and words and words, probably thousands of words in one can. And what you did was you dipped your hand in and you took out a certain number of slips of paper, and then you made a poem out of them. So I got some interesting ones like rhododendron and snapdragons and cathedrals. And this is the poem that I came up with. It's called The Poet is Freed. 1. A swarm of snapdragons bends itself east to hear you into the air. Believe me, woman, it knows you will pierce verse. The voices before you, the first few, they were people, bad as rhododendron raindrops in the cathedral, dangerous as shards of broken glass. This boarded up building was your chrysalis until underneath stars, a blanket of smoke, the mosaic color of mangoes crawled into your mind. So travel to the edge of jazz, barely breathing, a pocket full of pressed flowers in your torn t-shirt, dance in downtown puddles through the blues, bird dropping sweet as a swarm of snapdragons. You used to play he, she, you, me, us, they, too. I am walking through this poem, aware of breath and heartbeat. My footsteps give me away, alternately right as rhododendron rain, then tentatively tiptoeing on buckling bridges of language. Forgive me, swarms of snapdragons. Sometimes a girl needs some pretty piece of language to rest upon her head like a tiara. Feed me fragments of mosaic mango. Sometimes a girl needs a bit of sweet language she can roll around on her tongue. Lie to me. Tell me it is as easy as bending east, as easy as leaving Little Rock on the next sliver of dawn to find the edge of jazz barely breathing. Tell me no creature ever falls short of its own completion. Tell me to piece together torn bits of language to make a map to anywhere that is not boarded up. I want to be dangerous, as shards of broken glass in the mouth. I want to hear the voices from before the creation promise me. No creature ever falls short of its own completion. Wherever it stands, it does not fail to cover the ground. So let's see. I'm just going to keep checking on the time really, really quickly. Um, so I'm going to read from my third book, These Women You Gave Me. This is the one that's on Indolent Press. It's a very interesting book in that um, I wondered all of the stories that are told about women um, by by men or patriarchal systems, what would it be like if women told their own stories? And so um, I took the story of Adam and Eve and went one step, before that, and did some research about Lilith, who, according to Jewish midrash, was Adam's first wife. And I did some research, and I wondered what they would say about their own stories. So generally, we hear of Lilith as this demonic woman who wouldn't submit, and that's why she's been demonized, turned into a demon for all eternity. And of course we hear about Eve and how, she got beguiled by Satan, and it's all her fault that, creation has fallen. And we are now waiting, for a redeemer. And so I wondered what would happen if I asked um, these women to tell their own stories. So what I did was I wrote all in persona. I gave voice to Lilith, to Eve, and then I personified the Garden of Eden and made her a female voice as well. So she kind of serves as a Greek chorus. So I don't know how much you guys might know about Lilith and what happened. So I'm going to begin with an excerpt from the alphabet of Ben Sira, which kind of explains what happened in the garden between Lilith and Adam that caused their breakup. I guess this would be the first divorce. Anyway, he said, "It is not good for man to be alone." He then created a woman for Adam from the earth, as he had created Adam himself, and called her Lilith. Adam and Lilith began to fight. She said, "I'll not lie below." And he said, "I will not lie beneath you, but only on top, for you are fit only to be in the bottom position, while I am to be in the superior one." Lilith responded, We are equal to each other inasmuch as we were both created from the earth." But they would not listen to one another. When Lilith saw this, she pronounced the ineffable name and flew away into the air. Adam stood in prayer before his Creator. "Sovereign of the universe," he said, "the woman you gave me has run away." Lilith to Adam. 1. Stardust, clay, morning dew. We both were thrown, spun about the potter's wheel. We both were given fowl, beast, leviathan, dominion. Together we could lie beneath a new moon or the south wind. Adam, writhe with me in blue-black shadows. Submit to me, and I will submit to you. 2. Another. There can be no other, as full as the moon who pulls the tide at will. Alas, we both were, but now Eve is. Not thigh bone nor skull, but splintered rib. Lilith to Eve. 1. Rib of his rib, bone of his bone, mother of all living stain. Adam forsaken, Satan beguiled, Cain, Abel, Seth, split you wide. Will they name your daughters that woman you gave me? 2. Since I would not lie beneath Adam, since I rode the wind, his name reigned in my hand, I must gather spilled seed to bear ghosts who will die. Lilith and Eve, we are sisters, failed wives whose children fall daily. Um, this is Lilith petitioning to God. "I did not lay the serpent's egg. I did not hatch forth from it. You created its delicate shell, inlaid jewel and alabaster. When you created Lucifer, his vocal cords silver sinew and measured pitch, his person encrusted with gems and light, this loving excess was his eggshell. Your joy at his being was the yoke that fed his pride, until that pride swelled and cracked open his ordained place, causing you to fling him from heaven. Lucifer surfaced in paradise, full grown, self-seeking. Shards of his serpent shell pierced Eve's foot when she walked through the garden admiring the sovereign tree. Poison traveled to her heart, compelling her to eat, and Adam with her fell, and with them all of mankind fell, and all of creation fell into a plan of redemption. I am Lilith, your firstborn daughter. Must I continue to fall without hope of redemption? So um, I wondered what Eve might say. And so here's a poem about Eve coming into awareness in her own voice. It begins with an epigraph, Genesis 2:18. The Lord said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." Seems like we heard that before, right? Yeah. Breath in my face quickens me to light, sky, eager eyes. He calls me Eve, woman, wife. I have no language for him. I am so new, weak, enthralled by Eden, locus of life. Pools of lapis lazuli blue as the four rivers source. Her forests are ebony, streams of iridescent koi. Birds of paradise take wing, call from low branches to me, teach me home. Rock roses release blooms to settle in my hair. Eden loves me, and I her, but he calls himself Adam. He calls me Eve, woman, wife. Face to face, he takes my hand, palm to palm, our hands rest still. Mine is life, his is strong, thick. He pulls me. The space between us escapes. He is sandalwood and musk. His head and chin are lamb's wool. His voice is quiet thunder. Eden's breeze musses my hair. Adam's hand brushes it back. I leave Eden, fold into Adam, no woman, wife, lie beneath, yield. Mouth to mouth, the earth rises to meet me. I fall open and apart, pressed beneath Adam and earth. I discover myself through his touch, the bend of my legs, the arch of my back, fullness of breath, belly and voice. Eve. Um, so I'm going to just read one more. It seems like I'm running out of time. And let's see. This one is in the voice of the Garden of Eden, and it's entitled Free Fall. In the beginning, we knew only bliss. There was no rain, just a gentle rolling mist captured beneath heaven's firmament, and the earth, giddy. I received Adam and Lilith to my breast, and it was good, until Lilith pronounced the ineffable name and flew away. Shortly thereafter, the music in heaven was muted by war. The morning star had gone dark, judged himself too lowly exalted, and sought the throne of God. Even so, war was little more than a light show for all of Eden. Just pinkish hues, exploding into chrysanthemum bursts. Lilith watched from the highest limbs of the tree of life. Already fallen, she had not been beguiled. But Eve did not know Lucifer, did not know pride, did not know death, did not know. And the fruit in his hand was beautiful to eat. And why wouldn't she want to be like God? What is good when all about you is good? What is evil when all about you is good? What is death when all about you lives forever? And Lucifer, his vocal cords still silver sinew and elegant wine, his person still jewel encrusted, still standing on two muscled legs, was so beguiling. But Eve did not know beguiling, did not know deceit, and did not know spite. She could not have known. The host peered over the edge of heaven. Gabriel exhaled a slow, shallow breath. Michael unsheathed his sword. The seraphim assembled. But God raised his hand to let Eve be. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. So thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed the reading, and I have enjoyed being with you, and I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's work.
So give me just a second, and I will unmute people. And now you are all unmuted. If you have questions, comments, please. And I will though, if there's, if you can mute yourself, or if there's background noise if you would mute yourself, that would be helpful. But we have a few minutes, let's take some time and ask some questions if you have them. And people are.
I can't wait to go through all the chat and see what everybody's been saying. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
I really loved your work so much, and I loved your reading of it. And I was really wondering about 13 Ways of Looking, and because I've always loved Wallace Stevens so much, and 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. And it was, when I first discovered it, it was just like something so eye-opening about it. And I'm wondering when you first discovered that poem, and when you were inspired to write your poem.
Oh, that's interesting. I think it's been a number of years, and I'm not really sure how I came across 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. It was just, I guess, something that came on my radar. And then I decided, this is somebody I probably should know more about. So I like to read criticism. And so I got his book, Necessary Angel, that talked about what a poem could be and what it should be. And so when I read that book, I went back and I looked at that poem, and I kept trying to crawl inside of it and turn it around and try to figure out what vantage point he was using for each of the 13 sections. And then I started trying to look at other things through these vantage points. And so the first 3 poems I read all came from that, trying to really get inside, turn around, and look at things. And each poem is very different, but it's all from that same type of exercise. So I would definitely say, if you have a poet that you admire, just like grab one of their poems and try to see how it works. When I was a little girl, I used to like to pull apart watches, because it was so interesting on the inside to see how tiny the gears were and how they worked. And sometimes, I'd pull one apart. You can never put it quite back together the way it used to be. That's when I'm dating myself, when, watches actually had gears and they weren't all electronic. So maybe this is just an extension of that, stuff apart to see how it works. So that's how I ended up playing around with that particular poem.
Oh, that's a very nice analogy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
I have a question. I don't know if it can be heard. This is Barry Fruchter from out west. I was wondering about something you said at the beginning, which is that it was very strange, as it is for everybody now, to speak in a room without an audience present. What happens to you at the close of a poem? Do you have an expectation that there's going to be, a response? Do you feel an emptiness? Do you have a need or a desire, for something to compensate for it? Or what's really going on for you?
That is a great question. Um, in my other life, I'm a professor. And so we're so accustomed to reading the room, right? To seeing if people understand, if they're with you, if you've lost them. And I think when I'm reading, um, I'm looking at the crowd and I'm saying, okay, I need to either liven it up, or maybe these pieces are too long, or because you can just kind of feel the energy in the room, right? So you kind of know ahead of time what you think you're going to read, and then you see your audience and you kind of tailor it, right? And so I was wondering about that, not feeling the energy or the pulse in the room, if I was going to know, yeah, this is the poem for this audience. No, this is not the poem for that audience. So I don't think it's so much as an expectation, or a validation from the audience, as much as it is to know how, to satisfy the audience.
Uh-huh. Makes sense. Thank you.
That was a great question. Any other questions?
I'm going to interrupt for 1 second. If you think of it, if you're not speaking, since I undid the unmute all, if you would mute yourself, because there's some people, there's background noise that's kind of getting in the way, and I know that some people are having a hard time hearing. And it kind of interrupts the flow of the conversation. So if you're not asking the question, if you mute yourself, and then you can just unmute yourself when you want to speak. So I interrupt. So were there any other questions? So Lori Miller has her hand up. You can just unmute yourself, Lori. Okay, I will do it for. Okay, hold on. There you go.
Okay. Antoinette, hi. You are just a brilliant, brilliant writer. When did you start writing poetry, and what were some of your very early influences?
My grandmother, God rest her soul, gave me my first collection of poetry. And it was an anthology of African American poetry. And the first poem I ever read was Langston Hughes' Dreams. I see a lot of people nodding their heads. And the language was simple and clear and distinct. I was probably somewhere between 6 and 7. And even though I did a lot of reading, I was still kind of young. And for some reason, I don't know what happened, but something went off inside of me. And I just loved the poem. And then the second poem I read was The Bean Eaters, Gwendolyn Brooks. And I have to laugh because I did not understand the poem. My early 6, 7-year-old explication of the poem was that if you wanted to be a poet, you had to eat beans. And if you read the poem, it is nothing. That is so far off. It's crazy. But I was like, I said to myself, in my little kitty self, I said, I'm going to be a poet. And I'm going to eat beans. I just wanted to be a poet. And so that Christmas, I got a little blue typewriter. It was a little plastic kitty typewriter. And I wrote some of my first poems on that little typewriter. And that was the beginning of it. I was, I guess, just made to write and to read and to love language. Yeah. Any other questions?
So maybe one more question, if someone has. Okay, so then if not, I'm just going to unmute everybody. Let's give Antoinette a round of applause.
Thank
That was really,
you.
that was a, that was really a wonderful, that was a wonderful, wonderful reading. Before two things. If you would normally have bought Antoinette's book at First Tuesdays, I would encourage you to go to her website. The link is actually on the publicity that I sent out. Please go and buy her book, or buy more than one of her books. Unfortunately, there is, you know, I have learned that there is a way that you can, I think it's called Crowdcast. It's an app where you can actually make people have to do things before they can get the link to log on. So the bookstores are using it, for example, to get people to buy copies of the book before they can actually come. But you know, the people at First Tuesdays, really, you are a very generous crowd when it comes to buying books, and so I hope you will continue that, even though you can't get the book from her directly and have her sign it and order it. I did the same thing last month. I neglected at the very beginning to thank Poets and Writers, who they are funding this reading, and they have kind of adapted to the current situation, and so they are funding virtual readings. They're funding virtual live readings like this without, pretty much in the same way that they would fund the reading if we were face to face. And they have been funding First Tuesdays since I started hosting in 2012. So they have really been very, very generous to us as a community, and so I need to make sure to say that. So Antoinette, let me say thank you again, because that was really a marvelous reading. Let's take about 5 or 7 minutes so people can get up, stretch their legs, get a drink, go to the bathroom or whatever. And then when we come back, we will we'll start the open mic.
Coronavirus and the situation that we are in. So in the first 2-3 weeks, when everything was like a ghost town, and still to some extent is, that inspired me just to put my feelings and my observations into this. So hope you like it. I have called it The Cruel Messenger. The Cruel Messenger. The city is silent. Faces behind the masks, breaths imprisoned in the chest. Ears are longing for doorbell to ring. Eyes at the windows welcoming spring. Hand extends but freezes on the way. Reminded of virus, suddenly pulls away. Oh, the exhausted life of being, not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. What a waste, what a waste. Lovers deprived, mothers worried, children scared, business, happiness, and even life not being spared. Prisoners to the invisible parasite, life is seized, as life itself is frozen in the cold winter of disease. Oh, so insane, so insane. Humanity chained in the strands of malice, the invisible and mean virus, yes, but the cruel messenger has made us to heed, to ponder, to think of much better deeds. Perhaps an insight into ourself, a time to reminisce memories with friends, a time to cherish the word freedom, a pause to taste the sweetness of the universe. The enemy is mean and viral, causing death, yet with a viral message so valuable, clearly says, mind that life is hanging on a thread. A tiny virus could stop your breath. Your fortune could go in a blink. Time to pause, to appreciate your health. Time to build on body and mind for strength. Perhaps a reminder, a flog, a whip to the mankind's hubris and glib. A chastise to greed, to all the waste. A reminder to humanity to behave. Oh, how powerless we feel with our power. How helpless we are with all the wealth. An empty hand is a crystal goblet. Fill it with wine of generosity. Fill your spirit with humility, not audacity. Because when life turns into a cage, the prisoner is the proud man himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. All right. Do we have a line?
I was going to say I liked not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet.
I'm sorry, not to touch.
Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet.
All right. Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. That's line 1. All right. Our next reader is Peter Mara.
Hi,
Peter,
thanks, Richard.
just give me a second.
Okay.
Where are you? Your name just appeared.
Oh,
There you are. All right, you are unmuted. Go ahead, Peter.
all right. Thanks, Richard. I'm going to read pieces of one of the poems I wrote when I had the COVID fever about a month ago. It's called Forgeries of Her Past Affections, a Vixen Catastrophe. Segment 1, Noise. She took the dismembered starlight and inserted it slowly into her parched mouth, waiting for audience approval. The act of withdrawing the segments slowly in a titillating style made her aroused again. They were watching. They were watching. Slight sucking noises and scattered applause. No soul, no quiet in the hallways. Her voice had been vacuumed out. Sucking the seeds and sucking the eggs. A crimson female sat in a bare wooden chair, right rear corner, approximate window, viewing all her targets, a framing shot of an open oiled stiletto, trembling slightly, a little cold, a little taste of fear. Segment 8. In the laboratory of her alchemist, 7 souls were hidden, encapsulated in mason jars. Day after day they cowered in fear, from noon until dusk under a spinning eclipsing moon. Tenebrae, telescopic slow sound reverse. I hope you can. Scissors scraping the face of God, dissecting pieces for herself. Segment 9. The ocean murmured its approval as the motorcycles hummed. Fingers caressed flesh that was growing cold as light bulbs imploded. Faces illuminated from below by a flashlight. Nothing discovered. There were no witnesses. Second reflex at the final level. Pre-ejaculatory fluid became concrete thought. Transliterations of magical fuckings became murder as she ruminated. Segment 93. Rhythmic contractions. Rhythmic hypnic jerks. What do they indicate? Right between the eyes, crystal clear crimson tears. Leather nuns walked in the distance, uncaring and enthralled with the pornographic films that were projected onto their bodies. It had become a new shadow play. Their moans overlapped with their mouths. She loved them so. Another forgotten movie, another performance for posterity. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So, before we ask, tell me the first line again, David.
The first line again was not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet.
Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. And from Peter's poem? We have a line?
Scissors scraping the face of God.
Some what?
Scissors scraping the face of God.
Scissors scraping the face of God.
Their moans overlapped with their mouths.
Their moans overlapped with their mouths. So we've got
Or a framing shot of an open oiled stiletto.
a framing shot of an open oiled stiletto. Okay, so we've got not to touch, not to meet, not to breathe, not to meet. Their moans overlapped with their mouths. Or not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. A framing shot of a what stiletto?
Open oiled.
Oh, open us. Oh, boy, I changed that line, didn't I? Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. A framing shot of open oil.
Yes.
Oiled stiletto.
An oiled stiletto. And not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. What do y'all think?
I like God, but that's mine. So
No, you have something.
Antoinette's
I have
giving
religious
thumbs up.
problems. You know.
Antoinette's giving thumbs up to the God line also.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school, so you know.
Noah says the God line, so we've got votes for the God line. Okay, not to breathe, no, not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. Okay, next up is Lynette Ostreicher. Where are you? There you are, Lynette. Hold on a second. And let me mute everybody else. And hold on one second, Lynette. Why isn't it? Can you, Lynette, can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, okay.
It's such a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you. All right, this is short and simple. Last days of boyhood. I want to be dark and mysterious in my TIE fighter slippers, he said. Long blonde locks scarfing his neck, wearing his one-piece camo hoodie PJs, one size too small. His eyes bright, he asked to be tucked in. Once agreeing, he races upstairs and hides under the blanket, a farce giggling vanishing. We pretend cluelessness, unaware of his presence, until the big reveal. We smile and quietly wonder how many more nights are left before all this magic ends, before adulthood creeps in like a southern unwanted wind, and derechos curve by and curve in, weathering him slowly into man.
Nice. All right. Do we have a line?
How many more nights are left before all this magic ends?
Ooh, that was mine also. I had the great minds. So, not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. How much time do we have left before all this magic ends?
How many nights?
How many nights? Okay. Let me say
How
it
many
again.
more? How many more nights?
How many more nights? Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights do we have left before this magic ends?
How many more nights are left?
Are left, okay. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? Okay. And next, Marty Levine, you're up. All right, hold on, Marty. Spotlight you.
Marty.
And okay, you're up. Marty? Oh, wait, you're muted. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Journal from the time of the plague. 1. So now we are enclosed in our castles, trying to keep out the plague, like the maskers in the Poe story. Although if memory serves, the plague found its way in anyway. But that was just a story, wasn't it? 2. Our world is folding in on itself like origami, although it is theoretically possible to fold a piece of paper an arbitrary number of times. In practice, the number of folds achievable under normal conditions is relatively small. 3, a gray day, sick of being indoors. We drive around for a while, enclosed in our cocoon of metal and glass, and look at the few people who are out, dog walkers and parents of young children mostly, and at the darkened stores punctuated by the occasional pizzeria open for takeout only. 4, best laid plans, the best laid plans of mice and men. Gang after glay, don't they, Robbie Burns? They've got a glay all right, a glay is all hell. 5, a nicer day, I walk up the hill just for the hell of it, but when I get to the top, I step into a diner open for takeout only and bring home lunch. 6, Terrence McNally is gone, Ellis Marsalis is gone, Bucky Pizzarelli is gone, the plague is taking its tribute, and I am still closed behind my castle walls. 7, my life is increasingly lived on Zoom. I see people's faces in little boxes. 8, the April weather is still too chilly for me to want to go abroad even when I can. I feel like spring is conspiring with the plague. 9, obituaries are starting to mention when people did not die from the plague. 10, people are dying in agony and I am worried about running out of toilet paper. 11, the ruddy man in the big house, his hair flapping in the breeze like a flag, bellows and rants as if he can bully the plague into submission.
Thank you. Thank you, Marty. Okay.
They hear? Do they hear?
Yep. Do we have a line?
The plague is taking its tributes.
That's a good one.
I walk up the hill just for the heck of it.
Spring is conspiring with the plague.
Bully the
Wait,
plague.
so we've got the plague is taking its tribute. I walk up the hill just for the hell of it.
Heck of it, I guess. Heck of it.
And spring is conspiring with the plague.
Spring is conspiring with the plague.
Bully the plague into submission.
Lulling the plague into submission?
Yeah, he has a wonderful line in number 6, but I couldn't get it down fast enough. So you have to say that one again, Marty. Number 6.
Terrence McNally is gone, Ellis Marsalis is gone, Bucky Pizzarelli is gone, the plague is taking its tribute, and I am still closed behind my castle walls.
That one.
The plague is taking its tribute?
Yeah.
Well, it eliminates the beginning of that.
Well, this was, I think, 4 or 5. I don't know.
Or did you, Maria?
Yeah.
You said that's the one you want. The plague is taking its tribute?
No, I had offered the spring is conspiring with the plague, but I liked his number 6, but maybe it's too long.
Oh, okay. So let's see what we got here. I lost track of all of the different ones that people just suggested. So let's see what we remember.
Well, number 6, the second part of it is good. The second part, not the first part.
Well, that's your opinion.
Well, my opinion, of course.
This is, in case you did, if you haven't been here before, this is now the workshop portion of the Cento.
Okay.
Not to touch, no, not to
touch,
not to
breathe, not to meet.
Thank you. Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet, fingers, scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is, the plague is conspiring with, the spring is conspiring with the plague. Or how many, before this magic ends, I walked up the hill just for the hell of it? Or, what were the other ones?
Plague is taking its tribute.
Right.
Yeah.
Before this magic ends, the plague is taking its tribute. I think that one fits.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. The plague is taking. So, not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet, scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute. Okay. Up next is Henry Sussman. Oops,
Really,
hold on, Henry.
you got it.
There you go. Oh, let me.
Happy to be here.
Wait. I just accidentally muted you. Sorry. Hold on. Go ahead.
All right. Happy to be here. I'm sure I'm the only person who has been spiking in terms of Netflix and Amazon videos. So you may detect in the poem some mental deterioration from all the TV viewing. So this is called Yet Another Crime miniseries. Negotiating a skein, tortuous crime scene tape, low-heeled aplomb, order restored, overlit post-mortem tent, hermetically zipped, barring contingency, hazmat spacesuits de rigueur, solicitous pathologist presiding, mauled to the limit, corpse center image. The commish is here, careworn, still fuckable, tracery of Zorga visage, confers authority, flesh resilient, hair understated. Not so our corpse, dismembered, current ceiling on gory, bizarre markings, torso, replete, unspeakable plastic protrusions, illegible shorthand, deranged killer psyche. Donning surgical gloves, prodding corpse time to time, curt queries, attending doc, close by detectives, considered, commish delivers, working prognosis, before us, unmistakable work, psychotic serial killer. Back at station, only subterfuge, humiliation, commish taken off case summarily, first of 5 times, endless quibbling, open lattice work, ingenious killings, ramifying series, and meshing entire region, reaches higher up, maybe even the minister, from her supervisor, local magistrate, mixed signals only, true tossed salad. Prolonged torture, domestic front, at home awaits troubled teenager, internet porn, drugs, all the wrong parties, commish single mom, natürlich, barely step ahead, protective services, Mr. X periodically surfaces, sorely needed quickie, so wrong. When will she melt, we wonder, with whom? Here too we uncover suspects in multiple, eventually canceling out one another, never with her sidekick, affable, impeccably loyal, married police cruiser partner. Men these days, not strongest candidates, positions of trust, public sphere, possibly related, weird conceptions they tend to nurture, their distaff companions, invariably a lady are commish over wide swath, sensibly trodden, already encompassing Iceland through Turkey, Poland thrown in, far likelier to settle impenetrable cold case in Antarctica than unearth uncompromised male party standard bearer. It is the little screen we delegate, all by way of distraction, to right grave injustice, chilling trends and propensities to stave off pending catastrophe. Familiar cast of characters are partners in delay, evasion, innocuous co-conspirators, victimless in action. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry. All right. You have a line from Henry's poem.
Psychotic serial killer.
Yes.
Psychotic serial killer.
Perfect.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a go.
Yeah.
Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute. Psychotic serial killer.
Perfect.
I'm just, Antoinette, I'm watching your reactions. I told you it's a lot of fun. Right? It's a cool thing. Okay, our next reader is David Siller. All right, David, hold on.
All right.
Hold on a second.
Can you move over here?
Okay, not yet.
Yeah, right.
And
Okay, I should be good to go.
there you go.
Yep. Okay, great. So thanks everybody. Hello, and I hope everybody's doing well, staying safe. I've been writing a lot of new stuff in the last couple of weeks. I think I've got like 20 poems, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't have one prepared or ready to read that was called I Asked My Lawyer for Advice, because it would follow Henry's greatly. So unfortunately, I'm not going to read that one. But this one is called 5 to 7 minutes. 5 to 7 minutes is the time most recipes will tell you it takes for your sliced or diced or spliced onions to go from white and fresh to a sweet caramelized shade of walnut. Say, the time it takes to call your mother and father to say hello, make sure they're staying in and don't need anything, or the time it takes to read a familiar poem once or twice, that familiarity making it so that you can let the words and sounds wash over you like a shower already at temperature. Or the time it takes to listen to an edited interview on All Things Considered, NPR giving you the depth and context it takes to call your local affiliated station to donate to the drive because you value the journalism that allows you to understand the context of the whole world falling apart. But this time in the recipe is a lie. And Julia Child taught us that onions caramelize perfectly for your French onion soup, which the French just call onion soup, well, soupe à l'oignon, but what does knowing that help, except perhaps for trivia night at the pub? We'll take much closer to the time it takes to watch an episode of that show where the president was smart and articulate and tried to do the right thing, even if he had a weird way of throwing his suit coat on. Or say, the time it takes to ride the Q64 to Forest Hills and then catch an express train to Manhattan to find your hands pushing the revolving door that spirals you into MoMA. It is the time it takes to draft a poem, or the note explaining how hard it is to go on, or a letter failing to tell you, I miss you.
Why am I? There we go. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Okay. You have a line.
How about sweet caramelized shade of walnut?
What's that line about the closing doors?
The revolving doors at MoMA?
Yeah.
The time it takes to ride the Q64 to Forest Hills, express train to Manhattan, find your hands pushing the revolving door that spirals you into MoMA.
So find your hands pushing the revolving door that spirals you into MoMA. Okay.
Or what about
falling apart?
Yeah.
What about this time?
Or
the
maybe
recipe
just
was
part
a
of it
part?
and at the revolving door.
May I say something?
Well, who's that?
This is Zoe.
Okay, Zoe. Actually, Sally was trying to say. Now I feel like a teacher all of a sudden. Sally was in the middle of saying something, and then I think it was Norman, and then Zoe.
A letter failing.
Wait,
Zoe.
Zoe. Wait, because Sally was trying to say something first.
Yeah, so the line was, this time the recipe was a lie.
Okay. Noah likes that one. And then Norman, you had one?
Yeah, I think the whole world falling apart.
The whole world falling apart. And then Zoe, what was yours?
A letter failing to tell you I missed you. Something like that.
All right. And then Henry, what was yours?
Sweet caramelized shade of walnut.
And then Maria and Patricia, you liked the hand pushing the revolving doors that spiral you into MoMA.
Yeah. Or you can cut it at the revolving door. And
Hand pushing the revolving doors.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I will. What do you think?
I think you should choose what is best after the psychotic killer line.
Well, so why don't let me say it? Let me say it, and then let's see where we end up. Tell me the first two words, David.
Not to touch.
Not to touch. Not to breathe. Not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. The plague is taking its tribute.
How many did you get? How many more nights are left?
That's the next line. That's
that was
the
a.
line.
No,
that's the third one.
That's the third line?
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Time to touch. Time to touch. Not to touch. Not to touch. Not to breathe. Not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute. Psychotic serial killer. You all have the lines in your head. What do you think?
All things considered.
Actually, I kind of like Sally's. The plague is taking its tribute. This time, psychotic serial killer. This time, the recipe was a lie.
Yeah.
I think Sally's works. So we'll take Sally's. This time, the recipe is or was.
This time in the recipe is a lie.
We're doing a lot of cooking now.
This time the recipe
is a lie.
lie.
This time in the recipe is a lie.
This time in the recipe is a lie. Okay. Lydia Chang.
Excuse me, Richard?
Yes.
Excuse me, Richard. Could you tell me where I am in the lineup, Francie? Because my phone is the battery is about to blow. Do you know where I am in the lineup, please?
You're actually towards the end because of when you signed up. So
right. Would it be all right for everybody if I jump the line? Because is that everybody all right with that? Because my battery is about to blow.
Francie, if you give me Lydia, do you mind if she goes so that Lydia, is it okay if she goes ahead of you so that we get her poem before her phone runs out of batteries?
She wants to go, but she say it's okay.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, sir. Say it's okay. Okay.
Hold on 1 second, Francie.
Thank you.
Oh, I can't, okay, you're on your phone, so I can't blow you up so everyone just sees your phone icon. So
it's okay.
Read from where you are. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Privileged. Who spilt the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? I have zeroed out all my fiduciary responsibility by my philanthropy. All the glorious moments of undelight, the unvarnished will rejoice, or because I never gave a damn. I so cleverly overlooked every piece of sludge, every sliver of toxicity, the marvelous painting, the charitable foundation, the exceptionalism in disregarding corporate care, reflections in the enormity of my impulse to give, to purge, to honor my family name, so dishonored by association with unspeakable neglect, wretched disregard, and unnoble disdain. Who spilt the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? Wonder clamor of unheavenly fairy tales woven by legions of lying lawyers at my command, suspended souls stashed in a mire of misery. Who doesn't hurt you? You who are not the direct beneficiaries of my ill-gotten gains, but rather inherit the pains of those misdeeds, embedded forever alongside the trash heap of environmentalism lost in duplicitous language of war. My sins will never be evicted from the soil of your children's playstations, sandboxes. Sorrow will drape all your remaining sunless days. Who failed you? Who might have done something? Illusion suffocates the possibility of what might have been. It towers the plane of reality it will never penetrate. It has zero tolerance for the truth. Caustic chlorine, fried asbestos, mercury-lead surfaces, all now the stuff of junk dealers' dreams. Deeper contaminating sediment awash with a teaspoon of cleanup, courtesy of payout polluters. Oh, what magic carpet flush. Who spilt the first drop? Who knows? Who cares?
All right,
Who
thank you.
spilled the first drop? Who knows? Who cares?
Yay! Yay!
All right.
I love that last line. Yes, go for
Me
it.
too.
Thank you.
Okay. Not to touch, not to meet, not to breathe. I don't know why I say fingers. Not to touch, not to meet, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute. Psychotic serial killer. The time in this recipe was a lie. Who spilt the first drop? Who cares?
No, who knows?
Who knows? Who
Who
cares?
knows? Sorry, who knows who cares? Who spilt the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? Everybody's a critic. All right. Lydia,
Yes.
you're up next. So
Okay.
just let me spotlight you.
Mm-hmm.
And the stage is you. Well, the screen is yours.
I see. They come. It's so dark. Wow.
I don't know why.
There's no light.
No, it's okay. Your face
It's
looks
okay. Okay.
good. Oh, that lights it up.
Yeah.
Lift your head a little.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, because everybody seems to sit more at home. And this afternoon, a friend called me. We didn't say anything. We did not have anything to discuss about. We just laughed with my friend. That's the time now. Okay. The topic of my poem is called Amnesia. It's being it's being converted in this book.
Hold the book up a little higher, Lydia, so everyone can see.
Right.
Hold the book a little higher.
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 Yeah, so everyone can see it.
You know what?
Over this way.
This
Yes,
one has
yeah.
more light. It's only my part is dark.
I open the light.
Huh?
Wait, I'll open
Just a
the light.
minute.
That better?
Because I become
Yeah,
red.
that's better.
Anyway, we can see you, we can hear you. So
Yeah, okay, good see you. You thought you had fled from the blood, the lies, the constant storming open of the door, the slogans to a meandering thousand island, until one humid and steaming afternoon, after taking out a collection of 14 letters written between 20 long years, but dragging as if a lifetime. Here are the words written by my father, like his remains after cremation, crushed all together in an envelope. Thank you.
okay, thank you. So, thank you, Lydia. Do we have a line?
Thank you.
How about crushed all together in an envelope?
I'm sorry, Sally?
The last one, crushed all together in an envelope?
I second that.
Okay. I think that's going to start a new stanza. I think, but that's a good line. Going to start a new stanza. Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God.
Move over a little so I
How
can-
many more nights?
That's good.
How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute. Psychotic serial killer. The time in this recipe was a lie. Who spilt the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? 2, crushed all together in an envelope, and we'll figure out what happens next. Okay? Next up is Stephen
If they have my-
McCarty. But I'm sorry, Stephen, I'm doing I was not paying attention to autocorrect. My autocorrect changed your name to Stephen Lizard, but I know that's not your name.
The head was down.
Okay, hold on one second.
The head
Hold
was down
on 1 second.
instead of up. Reading.
All right. And there you, okay, can we, what happened to, can you should be fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Can folks hear me all right? My sound tends to be really wonky.
Yes, we can hear you.
Everybody can hear me? Okay, good. All right. So first of all, it's great to be back at this reading series. It's been a long while. I actually live in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia right now.
Oh my.
But my heart will always be in Jackson Heights, Queens. So it's really a gift to be reading for you all tonight. And thank you for gifting us with your words. I'm actually going to be reading a poem that's in tribute to my old neighborhood, which I'm missing right now in this strange time. But so this poem is called Four Queens. The Oaxaca cheese doesn't taste the same as the one the man at El Popo Mini Market, who smiled at my attempts at speaking Spanish, used to slice, fresh, beneath 90th Street Station. These days, I find myself thinking about the home I left behind. The Sunday morning romps to the Queens Green Market before stomping off to my neighborhood haunts, Lemon Farm for coffee beans, dried fruit and onions, Opna Bazaar for walnuts, dates, and olive oil, bodega tacos from La Esquina del Camarón Mexicano, and deli meats from Apetito. May it rest in peace. These days, I find myself thinking about the dinette where we had our first dates, or at least that's how I file it away inside my head. Richie's Place coffee shop, where the tamales do not compare to those swiped from shopping carts teeming at Junction Boulevard, but the coffee is strong, and the huevos rancheros are real. Hillside Avenue is a dried-up riverbed I'd wander along in rain or snow. I'd grab a hot tea from Premium Sweets and Restaurant before hopping on the F train back to Diversity Plaza, where LaSalle fast food soothes my worry, if only in my memory. I'd do anything to teleport there and pay anyone's rent, to buy momos for the homeless, a few dollars well spent, to visit Pizza Sam's on Northern Boulevard for a slice, chat it up with the onerous owner, complaining and making a sales pitch in the same breath. These days, I find myself thinking about the Muslim man hunkered down in his steel hut on 168th Place on a winter's Wednesday, bitter cold, steam rising from the openings. I miss the way he smiles to greet me, whispering, "Long time." I miss ordering my $4 falafel sandwich, the way no other one in New York City tastes the same. I'm reminded of his eyes, shut tight 5 times daily, his prayers never broken by hunger or demands, his hands upturned in his lap, the world having fallen away. I carry his unspeakable prayers now as I think of all the siblings I have passed blindly on the street, each one of them a life worth saving, a name I wish to call across the absence. To this, the epicenter of my heart.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you.
That was lovely. It's nice to have you back. Okay. Do we have a line?
I feel the home I left behind.
I see the home I left behind. I like the epicenter of my
Center of
Yeah.
heart.
That one
Yeah.
too. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Review?
Not yet. I have some.
Not to touch, not to meet, not to breathe. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute, psychotic serial killer. In the recipe, this time in the recipe was a lie. Who spilt the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? 2. Crushed all together in an envelope, the epicenter of my heart. Okay. And next is Norman. Norman, you're up. Norman Stock.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Okay. All right. This is called How It Went. It started when they banned plastic bags and people started hoarding plastic bags. Then the virus came and people started hoarding other things, toilet paper, canned food, anything for long-term use. The supermarket shelves were becoming empty. Then came the masks and the gloves and staying home and standing 6 feet away and empty streets and not many cars. All good for the environment, except for the thousands dying. The air is so much purer and the sky so blue.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. You can. Yeah. You can applaud. Please applaud. You're unmuted as the numbers drop. Okay. Do we have a line?
The first line about first they banned the plastic bags.
Norman?
The first line?
It started when they banned the plastic bags. It started.
Okay. It started when they banned the plastic bags?
Yeah.
Okay. Not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute, psychotic serial killer. This time in the recipe was a lie. Who spilled the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? 2. Actually, I think this is 3, but 2. Crushed all together in an envelope, the epicenter of my heart. It all started when they banned the plastic bags.
It started, not it all started.
It started when they banned the plastic bags. Okay? Next. Barry, we have about 4 more readers. Barry, are you still with us? Barry Fruchter is not still with us. Okay, so we'll move on to Dan Fletcher. Dan, you're still here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. You're behind it. Okay, hold on. All right, Dan.
Okay, I've been tackling some new material, and turns out this is narrative nonfiction. So this is what I hope will be the opening. When my mother and I moved into Willie's house in Woodbridge, Connecticut in August 1970, I was 16. So of course I spent much of the time in a self-absorbed, stunned, and bleary haze. It took many months for me to realize that no grown-ups from the surrounding area were visiting. No one was stopping by to socialize with my stepfather or my mother, his new bride. Willie had met both of my parents in the late 40s in New York City. We'd visited his family in Woodbridge, a ritzy suburb of New Haven, periodically before our families merged. I'd known that he and Miriam, his first wife, had been active in the local synagogue, B'nai Jacob, and she was a New Haven girl whose sister's family lived near the Yale Bowl. Their eldest son, Seth, was my age, and during his bar mitzvah party, I'd watched Willie dance to the tinny soundtrack of Zorba the Greek, playing on a record player set up in their backyard. As drunken adults I'd never met cheered him on and called out his name. So I knew they had friends nearby. In 1968, he divorced Miriam after she was lacerated by a brain tumor, and he couldn't afford her healthcare expenses and needed the state to pay for them. Or so he claimed. By the time we'd arrived, 2 years later, the Jews of Woodbridge and New Haven treated him as if he were dead, shunned him as if they were inventing a folk tale. Lately, I've been trying to identify the different sources of Willie's unhappiness, and Spilkes, the absolutely perfect Yiddish word for irritating, pins and needles restlessness. It occurs to me that one reason was that he'd been deprived of an audience. He assumed that everyone needed an audience, that his inner ravening for attention was a universal craving. Everybody's got to get on stage and do their number, was one Willieism. I was a new mark for his shticks and banter. I hoped he'd be responsive, hoped I would become a fan, if not a son. I couldn't. I wouldn't.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
Everyone get on stage and do a number?
Everybody's got to get on stage and do their number.
Everyone's got to get on. Everybody or everyone?
Everybody.
Everybody's got to get on stage and do their number.
It has to be number.
Number, I know. It's a New York. It's a New York story. It's got to be.
Otherwise, I won't accept it.
It's got to be a number. I gotcha. I gotcha. So, 1. Sorry. 1. Not to touch, not to meet, not to breathe. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute. Psychotic serial killer. 2. That this time in the recipe is a lie. Who spilt the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? 3. Crushed all together in an envelope, the epicenter of my heart. It all started when they banned the plastic bags. Everybody's got to get up on stage and do their number. Okay. All right. So Pat Duffy unfortunately had to go. Is Diane Mathis still with us? No, she is not. So that means we've got 3 readers. Is Bonnie still with us? So we've got 3 readers left. So
yeah,
Patricia,
I'm here.
Okay. All right. So Patricia, you're up next. We've got these are the last 3 readers.
Okay, this is based on Regina Spektor's song, The Trapper and the Furrier. 2020, a strange year.
You know what, Patricia, start again. Your audio sort of got wonky there. Can you start again?
Okay. The Trapper and the Furrier. 2020, a strange year. Like a time bomb waiting for breaking news to strike. Beasts in filthy cages, pellets and food, pets from puppy mills, children sleep in soiled cages, family separation, asylum still out of reach. Dystopian predictions, dystopian facts. Big business declares war on its workers, unions, wages, healthcare, live at triage. News speak from the White House, twists failure into praise, fiction into history. Our self-proclaimed leader plays mobster roulette. The press, elections, and laws face execution. He gives carte blanche to an alien dressed as the flu. And the sick keep getting sicker with too many fevers, chills, coughs, and losses of smell and taste. Death toll rising, ghost towns replace cities, bodies overflow morgues, the homeless live underground. Tests and cures not fast enough, business as usual for corporate generals. 2020, a strange, strange year. People shut indoors, waiting, not knowing what to believe. Their time bombs, not knowing when to explode. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. How about do we have a, yes? Do we have a line?
Fiction into history.
Fiction into history?
Time bombs waiting to explode.
Time bombs waiting to explode. Actually, we could use both of those. We could use both of those. Fiction into history and time bombs waiting to explode. So, and then we've got Noah is suggesting the triage line was good. Healthcare, unions, and wages. Patricia?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. Unions, wages, healthcare, live at triage.
Unions, wages, and healthcare.
Whatever the gang wants.
So, number one, not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left until this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute, psychotic serial killer. 2, crushed all together in an envelope, the epicenter of my heart. It all started when they banned, it started when they banned plastic bags. Everybody's got to get up on stage and do their number. Fiction turned into history. Time bombs waiting to explode. I think I like that Noah better than I think that fits better than the healthcare line. Okay. All right, last two readers. So Bonnie Ellman, whom I do not know. Bonnie, are you here from?
Well, my poem isn't about coronavirus.
Doesn't matter.
Is it okay?
Doesn't matter. No, but I'm just so you're reading here for the very first time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So please, then let's welcome Bonnie. And are you here as a friend of Antoinette's, or are you like local to?
No, I didn't get a chance to go when they were doing it in Jackson Heights, so I never attended.
Oh well, then I'm glad you're here.
And this is my first open mic, a virtual open mic. So I've done open mics before.
Well, welcome. I'm glad you're doing it here.
Okay. All right. This is Untitled. I looked at old photos, ornately wrapped in flowered albums, smiles as wide as the Atlantic. I stretched my feet out comfortably as the fall rain danced on the skylight, and our pictures, like treasures, lay on the marble-colored coffee table where there were once cup rings from recent visitors. I hear the pit-pattering and din from outside. I remember when I was a child, I played on the swings, and my best friend would dare me to slide down the pole. I was scared at first, but I did. I used to be scared of everything. I used to cry because I wanted to die. Now I cry because I never want to die.
Well, thank you. That was. I hope we're going to be virtual again next month. I hope you will come back.
Okay. Yeah.
I hope you will come back. That was really lovely. So, do we have a line from Bonnie's poem?
Smiles as wide as Atlantic.
Say that again.
Smiles as wide as Atlantic.
Smiles as wide as the Atlantic.
Yes.
I used to cry because I wanted to die, and now I cry because I do not.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wait, say that one more time.
I used to cry because I wanted to die, and now I cry because I do not want to die.
Well, I never want to die.
I never wanted to die.
I never wanted to die. Okay. I used to cry because I wanted to die. Now I cry because I never want to die.
I don't want to die.
I don't want to die.
Never want to die.
Never wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay. 1, not to touch, not to breathe, not to meet. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? Plague taking its tribute. Psychotic serial killer. 2. This time in the recipe is a lie. Who spilled the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? 3. Crushed all together in an envelope, the epicenter of my heart. It started when they banned plastic bags. Everybody's got to get up on stage and do their number. Fiction turned into history. Time bombs waiting to explode. So now what's the next line?
I used to cry because I wanted to die.
Cry. Okay, time bombs waiting to explode. I used to cry because I wanted to die. Now I cry because I never want to die. Okay. So our last open mic reader is Maria Lacello, who is, you are still the poet laureate, are you not?
I am.
Because right, okay. So Maria Lacello, and the only reason I say still is because I lost track of the years, but you are right. Maria Lacello is our last reader. She is the poet laureate of Queens, and so she does all kinds of wonderful things with that position around the borough. Has done all kinds of wonderful things. So Maria, the screen is yours.
Okay. So this is a pandemic poem. And I have the wrong glasses on, but I think I can manage. Like a bandita, I wrap nose, mouth, peer above my makeshift pandemic burqa. My laugh gives me away to mom and pop shopkeepers I visit, while I shun supermarket lines, flee if I see more than one customer. No glances at any bargains. Like a squirrel storing its nuts for winter, I scurry among squash, potatoes, cabbage, long-lasting vegetables. The swift rush, a need for abundance in this new world of sick, healthy, and suspect. Hastily race to the safety of home, the ferocious flight from invisible droplets that hover and stray on a sleeve, a grocery bag, the heel of a shoe. Dive for the finish of another day without incident or symptom.
Wow, thank you.
Last.
So, do we have a line?
Last line. Her last line.
Which was?
Maria, what was the last line again?
It's actually dive for the finish of another day without incident or symptom.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then this is your cento for May 2020. It's the what should we call it? The Zoom pandemic cento, the pandemic Zoom cento for May 2020. 1. Not to touch, not to meet, not to breathe. Scissors scraping the face of God. How many more nights are left before this magic ends? The plague is taking its tribute. Psychotic serial killer. 2. This time in the recipe is a lie. Who spilled the first drop? Who knows? Who cares? 3. Crushed all together in an envelope, the epicenter of my heart. It started when they banned the plastic bags. Everybody's got to get up on stage and do their number. Fiction turned into history. Time bombs waiting to explode. I used to cry because I wanted to die. Now I cry because I never want to die. Diving for the end of a day without, I forgot the last.
Without incident or symptom.
Is it the end of?
Diving for the finish of another day without incident or symptom.
Time bombs waiting to, now I cry. I used to cry because I didn't want to die. Now I cry because I never want to die. Diving for the finish of another day without incident or symptoms. that is your cento for May 5th, 2020. David will send it to me, and I will put it up on the blog. I will put it up on the website. It was really wonderful to see you all. Thank you. We will be back here in June, and we're actually going to have two readers, Ralph Nazareth and Dwayne Esposito, who have co-published a book of poetry. They're going to read in June. Someone in the chat asked if we're going to continue this over the summer, and that's something I don't have featured readers booked for the summer, and so I'm not sure about the featured readers, but we could just get together and do an open mic and talk poetry and do centos and just kind of get together and have fun like this without necessarily having to make it an official first Tuesdays with a featured. Everybody's got their official first Tuesdays with a featured reader and do it like that. So please give Antoinette Brim Bell another round of applause for really a lovely evening. You're muted. There you go.
Thank you so very much. I had such a wonderful time, and the cento is like amazing. That was so much fun.
Well, thank you.
Richard, let me ask you a question, please.
Sure.
Is it okay to recite a renowned poet's poetry, or it has to be yours?
No, if you want, you of course you can come and recite whatever you would like.
Okay.
You can, yeah. It doesn't have to be your poetry. There's no requirement like that.
Okay.
In fact, for a long time, there was a woman named Naomi who came for I forget how many years in a row, every month, and she recited in memory of her mother's poetry.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason I said that, as you know, you're very familiar with Persian poetry, and you have written about Sadi a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a woman very renowned. I'm sure probably you know Forough Farrokhzad,
mm-hmm.
and she has really, amazing.
I think that would be lovely.
I thought maybe, that's why I asked.
I think that would be lovely. You could come and read, maybe not the whole thing in Persian, but some part of it in Persian.
No, not in Persian. It's translation. You could read it.
I understand. I'm saying read some part of it in Persian so people hear it, and then read the.
Well, if they like, I would. But if they get bored with language that they don't know, it would be in English.
No. I'm saying some small part of the poem in Persian.
Yeah.
So people get a flavor of the original.
Sure.
And then read the translation. I think that would be a lovely addition to the open. Absolutely. If you come next month,
actually, she's one of the poets that she's the leader of women liberation in Iran in 1960s.
For people who don't know Forough Farrokhzad, she's often compared to Sylvia Plath or Anne Sexton.
Yes, she's from the era of 1960s.
that kind of sort of iconoclastic, boundary-breaking work. And she was huge.
She was huge.
She was
in many dimensions.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, please, absolutely, please bring that. Please bring that next one. Did anybody else want to say anything? So again, thank you all so very much for coming. This was really a lovely, lovely evening. Please do go buy Antoinette's books. Please do check out Indolent Books. I don't know if Michael, I think you missed both times that we plugged you.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. But Georgia says she put your website in the chat.
Oh, great. Thank you.
She put your website in the chat. Antoinette, I will, once I have the recording, I'll send you the link. If you like it, you'll tell me. I will edit out. There's some things that I'll have to cut out, but if it works, I will put it up on the website. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you again. Have a good night, all. Be safe, be healthy, be sane.
Good night.
Thank you. Virtual
Hey, everybody.
Okay.
Bye. See everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Where's my...